Hey everybody, this is Thought Company here. Welcome everybody to today's live stream. Today is February the 14th, 2024. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Hope you all been having a wonderful day today and a happy holidays to everybody. And for today's live stream, we're going to be talking about the time Thought Company worked as a movie theater chef. Yeah, man, this was many years ago, probably close to 10 years ago now. And on this almost 10-year anniversary, this was probably back in around, so Thought Company started working around 2014. Now, very first job was a movie theater, and probably about a year after I started working at the movie theater, what ended up happening was we were basically kind of in a weird situation where they needed people in the kitchen. So they decided to throw me into the kitchen. And for many months, I was first working as a dishwasher. So that would be like everybody would be collecting all their dishes, pots, pans, cups, plates, glassware, spoons, all the above. And luckily in the kitchen here, now to give you all kind of a little bit of background, what ended up happening was this movie theater used to be a Regal Cinemas movie theater before I started working there. So prior to starting working there, what ended up happening was Regal wasn't doing well, this movie theater, and they're like, all right, we gotta scrap this movie theater. So what they did was they sold it to a bunch of guys who started a new company in Charlotte back then. So this was give or take around 2014. And they opened this movie theater company and they called it Carolina Cinemas, which was a good name because I don't believe they had anything else by that name in the area at that time. And what ended up happening was they had this huge room where they would store candy, bulk popcorn, bags, soda cups, everything that wasn't really needed to be out on the main floor. They had this room that essentially worked as an elevator lift. And you would place all these boxes of cargo, of pallets, of anything you can imagine that a movie theater would require. Any equipment and all that. So they would put on this elevator lift, and this lift would bring it from the first floor to a second floor, which was kind of above and around in the middle of the movie theater. And it arrived at like a column kind of right in between the theater that would allow for what we had back then, a projectionist. A projectionist was an individual who was in charge of maintaining the smooth viewing of a movie or a film. And unfortunately with technology and all that, they got rid of that position. And then when they bought out this movie theater, so they sold it to Carolina Cinemas, these guys went in and they removed the elevator completely. And in place of the elevator, they had constructed this full-on kitchen, which had a walk-in refrigerator / freezer. But I would call it just a refrigerator from my memory. And then they put in the beer kegs in there, wine. So it was a full-on kitchen with with all the drinks and all that. And so what was nice about when I was got into the kitchen as at first a dishwasher, they had what I would call my first experience to what I call a dishwashing machine apparatus or stand. And basically they would just throw chunks and stuff, all and in these like big plastic tubs, probably about a good size, bigger than your head, right? And you would put all kinds of plates and spoons and anything, all of the above, and you just chuck this big old tub or bin of silverware or what do you call your dishes and all that right on the table next to this dishwasher. Now the dishwasher itself was this metal box with a handle. And you would just lift up and lift down, and you'd put everything on trays. And these trays would have prongs, kind of like what you would see in a regular home dishwasher. And you would just, put a plate or a box or, whatever, a bowl, and you would just run it through the box, and you just slam the door shut, and they would have a machine that would just basically quickly wash everything. And it was less than a minute. I think it was maybe like, you could say 20 seconds in some cases, 30 seconds. and then everything would be clean. So, which was super fast, which was the major benefit of using such a machine. And I was doing that nonstop for full time. I was full time scheduled doing that. And luckily, what was nice is back then during 2014, everybody was getting paid minimum wage, which was $7.25 an hour, $7.25. And for me, being placed into the kitchen, that's considered to be a position or a job with higher responsibility. And they bumped my pay up to, I think it was at least $7.75, maybe even $8 an hour later on, or $8.50. I don't quite remember, because this is, again, over 10 years ago. And after a while, we started noticing a few very strange things. The first thing the movie theater was doing was they hired a professional chef to create a movie theater menu. And so what that included your pizzas, hot dogs, sandwiches, salads, nachos, and pretty much anything else you come up with. But the menu had some very unusual foods as well. They had fried Brussels sprouts with a side of an apple cider vinegar, red onion. It was the weirdest thing. They would take bacon. They would make bacon there fresh in house or fresh in the movie theater. And then they would chop up the bacon. Then they would take red onion, fry the red onion, add it to the bacon. And then they would take like apples and make kind of like almost like an apple sauce, but they call it an apple vinaigrette. They would add that to the onions and the bacon. And so you would get this like weird mishmash of all those ingredients with like garlic in it. It was kind of weird. And they'll put it as almost like a salad. And they put that as like a clump right next to this tray and hummus. So like pita bread and hummus. And they had two different hummuses. They had like your regular classic hummus that you would use, with tahini, chickpeas or garbanzo beans. And then they had a black bean hummus as well. Both of them were pretty nice, but everything was freshly made. And we had ordered the pita bread from a nearby Arabic restaurant / grocery store called Al Basha, which was also known as the Golden Bakery, which was another name that they had for themselves. And I remember having to drive over there, handing some money to the person, they give me the change and all that, and driving to drive back. And that whole trip was like, oh God, like 30 minutes. And back then, they were so cheap, they didn't pay me for no transportation and no gas, no nothing, which was crazy. So after that, what else they would have me doing was they started having me be a little bit of what I call the morning prep work. So that means like they would have a whiteboard, and on the whiteboard they would write lists of ingredients that needed to be prepared. So like your bacon, your salads, pizza dough, make all the different sauces. Let's make French fries. And so back to the menu. The first chef they ordered here was this guy, kind of a professional chef. He wore like your classic chef attire, but it was like everything was, usually you think of like a French chef with, all the white apron and everything. The guy had more of like what they call the modern American style, where it's like all like a black hat, black shirt, and apron and all that. But his menu, here's what his weird menu was. He had a bowl of French fries, which was like $5 back then. Then had a bowl of what he called truffle fries, where you would basically prepare the fries and you would drizzle some truffle-infused olive oil on top of that. And then they had a grater. You would take Parmesan cheese, and we had some expensive like Italian Belgioso, I think was the name of the company. And we had their Parmesan, and we were grating their Parmesan, but we would order Parmesan big time, like the whole wheel type of thing. Order the wheel, and they would come in half wheels, but we'd be ordering like several half wheels. So it's like basically a wheel, and would be great in the Parmesan. And so bowl of fries with truffle oil, and the Parmesan was like $7.50. Then we had personal pizzas, which were pizzas probably about the size of like two hands. And there would be these like oval shaped pizzas. Put some sauce, and and we had your cheese pizza or margarita pizza. basically they were all just about the same thing. But I think margarita had basil on it, a little bit less cheese, while cheese pizza had a ton of cheese on it. Then we had a pepperoni pizza. Then we had a veggie pizza, which was like, I think they put olives and anything else they could come up with. Then they had a weird pizza called a chicken pesto pizza, where they would have the dough, like a pesto sauce they would spread instead of typical like marinara sauce or pizza sauce or tomato sauce. And then they would take chicken, and I don't know if it was rotisserie chicken or cut up chicken. I don't know how they did it, but they basically put that on there. They put bacon on with it. And I don't even know if they put any cheese on it, though. But it was a kind of a weird, kind of interesting pizza. And then they had a bunch of salads. They had like 5 or 6 different salads. Field of Greens, which was one of the names. Then they had a bunch of salads that had a bunch of weird names to them. Like they had like a chicken salad. Then they had a veggie salad, which was basically salad with every freaking vegetable they could find. Then they had like a salad with that apple bacon onion vinaigrette things that they put with the fried Brussels sprouts. They'll put that in the salads and then put like a bunch of balsamic vinegar in it. So a bunch of weird salads. And then they had sandwiches that were like $7.50, and it would be like a regular, square bread and like a typical American sandwich, nothing crazy. You don't think no Italian subs, no nothing like of that sort. That was $7.50 or $8 or something. Like they would change prices every now and then. Then they would have hot dogs that were the same prices as the sandwiches. We had what we called a Chicago dog, and then we had a Carolina dog. A Chicago dog is typically what you would see on like a hot dog with a bunch of like pickles, relish. Carolina dog had a bunch of like mustard and cheese on it. They later did tweak the recipes. Then we had nachos, which were would take corn tortillas, cut them up like circular tortilla, cut up into fours, and then we would deep fry the tortillas so they would get hot and crispy. And then we would order like this nacho cheese dip, and we had different versions of it. We would have one version where we would kind of make it from scratch. We would have like a blocks of cheese, would add like a milk or something to it, and I think we would add like spices or something. But we would cook it in a microwave, or in some case we had like an oven where we would heat everything, which was almost like a pizza oven. And then we had a weird pizza conveyor heater, kind of like what you would see in like a Domino's or Pizza Hut or Papa John's. And that was a little bit more high tech. And then we also had chicken tenders, which were like, basically kind of like boneless wings, chicken tenders. You can find it online. But we had regular chicken tenders, which I think were like, you can get small portion for like $5, or we could get like a large portion for like $7 or $8 or something like that. Occasionally they would boost the price up to like 10. And we also carried, and I think that was the whole menu, to be honest, but like we would sometimes carry a seasonal thing, like we would have strawberries and chocolate, which was like one time they did for Valentine's Day for like one day. One time we had heart-shaped pizzas for like one day. Then one day we had buffalo chicken tenders for like a Super Bowl party. And then they shut down the movie theater because they were trying to display the freaking Super Bowl on the movie theater screens. And the NFL like found out about it somehow. And then they sent in like a cease and desist letter to the movie theater, and they almost shut down the whole theater because of it. But their buffalo chicken tenders, they would make a homemade buffalo sauce, which when they heat that sauce up, it was like mustard gas in the whole movie theater. And, that was a crazy time. But they would make chicken tenders, fry up the chicken tenders, and then in a metal bowl, they would pour some buffalo sauce and then kind of like shake it and mix the chicken tenders with the sauce. and then we had celery sticks, and then we'd have a thing of ranch, um, which was okay. And I think that was like 850. Um, and then that was pretty much out of the whole kitchen. But they had me as like a dishwasher and then a fry cook. So we had a fry station, but I was like the me and like one other guy named Tony, and that's going to be one of my friend stories about talking about Tony. Um, we were the only two people who were like efficient and like we knew how to use a fry station or a frying machine, like a deep fryer. And everybody else would like be burning stuff in it, or they would be chucking everything under the sun into that deep fryer that you shouldn't be putting in a deep fryer, like water, ice. Oh man, we had one guy somehow rip open a metal plate that was like a shield or something, and he managed to spill frying oil all over the kitchen floor, and he would like was throwing freaking flour and water, and it was a big old mess. That's for another story too. How they destroyed the kitchen. Um, but yeah, I was a dishwasher, a fry cook, and then an expediter, which was the guy in charge of collecting all the food together, making sure that everything from the order of the food was there for the order ticket. So you wouldn't be like, oh, take, so and so ordered, two hot dogs, two pizzas, and a salad. You would have to make sure everything was there and the ticket was there before sending all the food out. And the system that they had at that movie theater was they had a buzzer system. So you would have individual has buzzer number, let's say one. So you'd have ticket buzzer one or order one with that food, and you give that food out. And we had like 30 or 40 different buzzers, which at times we had all the buzzers go out. So that was fun. But what was crazy about the kitchen was we kept having our own thing going on, and the management didn't know how to control the kitchen because we kept losing kitchen managers left and right. We had the original guy who made the menu was wanting to be basically paid as a regular professional chef, and the movie theater was like, we ain't having that. We ain't paying you no 50, 60,000 a year. We're gonna pay you maybe $9, $10 an hour. You may be making like 15, 20, 25,000, not no 60. And he left. The second lady who was there, who replaced the guy, was this, for lack of a better way to, unfortunately, you can't be telling everything, was a Southern lady, um, who was like a manager at a fast food place at one point. And let's say this fast food place was in the ghetto. So, one thing led to another, and things started going ghetto there. And then she left. And then right after she left, we had a very nice manager. A guy was from the Dominican Republic. And what he would do was he would get everything done that was needed. He'll find cheaper ingredients basically what I mean by cheaper ingredients is the same ingredients of same quality at a cheaper price. And not only would he get everything done, he would also make sure that everybody was fed. So the workers there, if they were hungry, he would make sure that they were fed. So he was basically a guy, everybody looked up to him as a manager, and he was teaching everybody how to make everything. But somehow, like, they didn't like him because he was like too good or something. And he was like, we had him in for like a month or two. Everything was great because we had like, as soon as he came in, we had a bunch of additional like Spanish speaking chefs who did an awesome job of cooking. And the theater management, they didn't want, they have what's called a power structure. And they don't want certain things to be going on and, getting popularity and all that. So they kicked the guy out. And as soon as they kicked the guy out, we had at least a good 6-7 months without a manager. So the workers or chefs who were still there, me being one of them, we were doing whatever we wanted. Like, I remember one day they got us like some new equipment when the Carolina Cinemas was sold to Cinemark. Like, we got a frying pan was one of them. and like a heater, which was like a plug-in stovetop heater, and you would put a frying pan, you can cook anything on it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go run to Walmart, and back then you can get a dozen eggs for like maybe less than 50 cents. I think it was like 40 cents, or one time it was as low as 26 cents for a dozen. Um, but you could get that, and I made like omelets for everybody, so that was a fun time. But as soon as we got a next manager was also part of the ghetto crowd. And this supposed manager made false claims that they were a manager of a fine establishment at the airport. Turns out she was a manager of another fast food restaurant that happened to be located at Charlotte Airport. But she was like taking advantage of everything, left and right. Lady was trying to hook up with higher end managers to pull herself up, which is one of the American things that people do a lot. You know, that's not for another story. And she basically made everything really bad. Everybody was quitting. And I think I ended up quitting because of her and a few other managers. And this was probably about 2017 when this all happened. But she ended up quitting, and her assistant manager, who was also involved in various scandalous affairs, that assistant manager became manager of the kitchen. I don't even know if she's still there, but she was manager for many years too after I left. And now nobody knows what's going on because one of the managers who came in that I trained became later the new general manager. And let's just say after that happened, which was recent, a few years ago, maybe a year or two ago, that movie theater is now completely corporate, owned by Cinemark. And everybody I know who's worked there or has left there said things have gone down the road and won't come back. Basically, that's one way to put it. Now, I do have other stories to get more into details about how people got fired there, how we had fights in the kitchen, drunk people who got into the kitchen, almost getting kitchen fires, and all kinds of craziness. But that's probably going to be for another story, another work story, guys. But I just wanted to kind of give you all an introduction to what it was like working in a movie theater kitchen and what kind of the environment was. So yeah, guys, if you have not already, make sure to subscribe to Thigh Company, like this video, hit the bell icon so you get notifications for future events, live streams, and videos and all that. And comment down below what you would like to see for future videos and live streaming, guys. But thank you all so much, guys. This has been Thigh Company. Hope you all have been having a wonderful day so far. Happy Valentine's Day. Stay safe and have fun. Take care, guys. And happy holidays.